Good morning, how are we doing? Happy Friday, hope you're good. So this morning I'm just filming lots of new content for our brand new program, the Elite Movement Blueprint. So that's why I'm dressed like this morning and in here, not on the beach. So welcome to show 440. So today we're going to talk about how can you be more present with your kids, okay? How can we be more present with your kids? So we're going to go through and we're going to talk about some of the things and maybe why we're not, all the characteristics of not being present, so what that looks like. Then we're going to look at some of the things that are sort of locking you down as to why you're not being present with the kids, and then 3 reasons how you can actually start changing some of those things to be present with the kids. I think this is a really important one because I think we take for granted sometimes the time that we have with the kids when they're younger. You know, I'm in that position where I've got 2 that are 16 and 18 and are starting to move on, and I've got 2 that are 4 and 2 that I'm fully immersed in, right? So this is something that I thought would be a really good topic. It's something I'm going through, something that I can share with you guys as well. So let's get on with it. Welcome to the Rise to Thrive show. I am your host, James Boorman, and if you are coming through, then please do let me know. Either hit the love heart button or in the comments, just comment that you're watching. Let me know if you feel you could be better at being present with your kids. If it's something that you struggle with just because you're busy, just because whatever, maybe some of the reasons that we go through in here. Okay, so let's crack on with this. Let's make sure this is set up. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the characteristics of us not being present with our children. Now, usually the time that we spend with our kids, a lot of the time is going to be over the weekend. We'll probably get a glimpse of them in the mornings before we go to school run, but then we're trying to get that sort of quality time in the evening with them when we get back from work, which is why the transition routine is so important, right, in terms of coming out of that work and going into the personal space. So we're going to go through some characteristics of what not being present actually looks like. Okay, so I've put kind of like 4 key things here. So for me, not being present is almost like not really listening. We're hearing people, we're hearing the kids, and it's the same with our wife. Yeah, we often see that where they're talking, you can see they're talking, you can hear them, but we're not engaging, we're not listening. Okay, thinking about something else. So actually, more to the point, we're more than likely only hearing the kids and what they're trying to say, because actually we're thinking about something else, right? We're thinking about something that's happened at work. We're thinking about something you've got to sort out. We're thinking about something you've got to purchase or something you've got to get ready, okay? Distracted. So we're going to go through those distractions up here in a minute, okay? Distractions are everywhere. So obviously the kids want us, okay? And we're getting distracted left, right and centre. Distraction could be stress as well, you know. And not concentrating. We're just not focused. We're just not in that moment. We haven't set time aside to sit down with them and build building blocks or play cars or go on a trampoline in the garden. So we're not being present in that moment. And that can lead, sort this out, and that can lead to a number of things. It can lead to you completely disconnecting, okay, from those kids, or those kids are scarily disconnecting from you. Okay, it can lead to broken trust down the line if they don't see a lot of you, if you don't interact with them, if you're stressy, if you're not paying attention to them. They're always never gonna come to you for the cuddles, right? I've always been devastated in the past when the little ones have gone straight to mum, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And it's like, because I've been so consumed in here. Okay, not feeling comfortable necessarily around you. That's happened with quite a few guys that I've spoken to, where they've been so consumed with work, they haven't been around as much, so they're not actually quite familiar with you, or feel quite disconnected and feel quite uncomfortable, which is a really sad place to be, right? The kids then grow up having low expectations of you being around. So dad can never make it, dad can never come to the cinema, dad never comes out on the days out, dad never sits down and watches the films with us. So that's what we've got to be able to do. We've got to be able to make that effort, right? And then that leads to feelings of guilt. So you feel like terrible, you know, you've been so consumed with work, so tied up with work, that you never really got to focus or dive in with the kids, all right? So let's have a look at distractions. This is what we're aiming to do, right? We're trying to get into this bubble where we have a really good connection, all right? Where we grow together, where we nurture, where we're a role model, where we're connecting, okay? But the barriers are some of these things that are here, right? This is where your mind's at, and it does become a state of mind. It becomes something that you have to like master to make sure that you are present, okay? Because there's lots of distractions. One of them might be that if you're really ambitious, okay, if you're a really ambitious guy, you're constantly thinking about how am I going to grow my business? How am I going to move forward in my career? Okay, how do I make an impact? And like your brain, but if you don't do a really great transition routine, you're still in work mode. So you're still like, God, I'm hungry, I need to get on with work. And I'm stuck here, and there's that conflict of interest, right? Just work driven, okay? Social media, on your phone, scrolling through TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it's going to be. Phones in general, looking through, scrolling through, looking at Expedia, looking at Amazon, looking at, I don't know, Facebook, whatever. Just you're constantly consumed on the phone through social media or researching stuff at the wrong time. That's the sort of stuff that you can do when the kids have gone to bed. Okay, so if the kids always constantly see you on their phone, they're just going to grow up thinking, right, my dad's always on his phone. My mum's always on their phone, never playing. Okay, you might have mental health struggles. You might be struggling with depression, anxiety, overwhelm, overthinking, drained, burnt out. Who knows? So, but one of those things might be distracting you. Okay, and that's just come off the back of poor routines, poor structures, poor practices, poor standards. Okay, those are the emotions and the things that you're going to be facing. That's going to hold you back, right? Then we've got poor planning and poor routines. But poor planning is that you're not having a good transition routine for coming out of work. Poor routines in the morning, so you're not actually able to communicate and have some fun with them in the morning. Over the weekend, you're finding yourself having to work because you've planned poorly, because your routines are awful. So these are all become the byproducts, okay? These are all the distractions that pull you away from having this scenario, okay? This leads to this, that leads to this, okay? So what can we do? So for me, there are 3 key actions that we have to make sure that we're doing. So boundaries, I've spoken about a million times before, all right? So we've got to make sure that there are boundaries in place in and around the kids, okay? So boundaries of when you finish work, okay? So that you can fully engage in family time, okay? We've drawn many a time the work line and then the personal line and then the transition room bit in between. And that transition routine in between the professional slot and the personal slot right here, okay, this is your boundary. So that could be a time. The boundary could be a time, okay? So it could be like 5 o'clock, it could be 4 o'clock, it could be 6. So whatever time it gets to that, that's when you start slowing down, that's when you start wrapping up. And that routine and that level of planning allows you to completely disconnect with work, to get all of the brain dumps down, all of the stuff we've spoken about before, okay, and then actually allow yourself to free your mind to then go into the personal space, going, right, I'm going to put my phone away, I'm going to close my laptop. The next 2-3 hours are all about family, okay, which allows you to immerse yourself within the kids, okay? So that means that you're not falling into these categories or you're not getting distracted by this. The mission is to be present for the wife and the kids, okay? Manage your actions. So those management actions are, it's leaving your armor at the door. It is making sure that you put your laptop down. It's making sure that you going and you cuddle the kids and you tell them how much you miss them and you go up to your wife and ask her how her day was, okay? And then the last one here is do what you said you would do. Is do what you said you would do. Do these things. Do all of the things that I've been teaching you over the last 440 shows, okay? Or any of you in my programs, doing all the stuff I've taught you in there. Because without this happens, okay? And the consequences are you'll grow up and not have a great relationship with your children. And it's one of the most important relationships to nurture and build, right? So you've got to make sure that you're doing the work, okay? If you don't do the work, then the relationship with the kids and everything is going to end up crumbling here. All right, makes sense? I hope that helps. If there's any dramas, then you can just kind of let me know. So I will catch you guys next week, okay? Last week of shows next week, and then I'm going on holiday. So we will see you Monday at 5:30. I hope that this has helped you just kind of think a little bit about being more present at home. If you're not already on the waiting list, okay, for our workshop, our huge elite movement seminar with our guest speakers, we've been sharing the guest speakers throughout social media this week. We launch the early bird on Tuesday. If you're not on the waiting list, you won't get access to the early bird price, okay? You'll end up paying full whack if you decide to come. So you've got to be on that list. Don't procrastinate. The link is up above on this post or somewhere on the description. Once you're on the list, okay, we will then email you 12 o'clock on Tuesday to offer you early bird tickets for 6 days before we then put that out to everyone. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves, and I'll see you Monday.